'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
This podcast is brought to you by UJA Federation of New York. Right now, being there for the worldwide Jewish community is more urgent than ever. UJA is continuing to mobilize vital relief for Israelis on the front lines. And they're standing strong against the growing tide of anti-Semitism here in New York and around the world. Your support is essential on every front. Learn more at uja.nyc.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to your post-match Raw on Anfield Index Pro. Podcasting to you from my field here in beautiful rural Ireland. I'm Trev Downey, and joining me to give their immediate reactions to Liverpool 4, LASK 0 in the Europa League from Anfield are Dave Hendrick and Karl Matchett. And Dave, as things have panned out since the final whistle went, we heard the final whistle went elsewhere and Liverpool topped the group on the back of that result tonight, which means no messing and a free hit in terms of sending the kitchen staff to play the final group game. This is good.
Yeah. Caroline, get your boots ready. Good love. Both of you are playing. You two are up front. We've got John from the security hut at the AXA. He's going to play right back. Couple of kids. Pep and Linders, he's got his boots wherever he goes, always up for 5 aside. We're gonna see what he can do 11 aside. There's no reason for anybody with a professional contract to play football for Liverpool to even go anywhere near Belgium this year. So that's fantastic. Like that game between Union Saint-Gilloise and Toulouse, that was nearly more important than our own game, because we knew realistically, we knew we were winning tonight. So you're looking at that scoreline and just hoping that Union can get a result. Toulouse are garbage, and the fact that we lost to them is our own fault, but you just needed that to end the right way. And now we're through into the last 16. And as I look at these groups in this competition, Trev, and I said it to you before we went live, we should win this competition. Not we could win. We should win this competition. There is nobody currently dropping into this competition that really concern me. Newcastle, they're good enough.
The Manx,
I think they're going to finish bottom of their group. I don't think they'll drop in. Okay. I look at the other groups, and I just don't see who's dropping in that's really going to cause us problems.
PSG, perhaps?
PSG, if they were to drop in, that would be nasty. But as things stand, it would be Galatasaray, Lens, Braga, Red Bull Salzburg, Feyenoord, Newcastle, and Young Boys. Oh, and Shakhtar Donetsk. We're not going to concern ourselves with any of them.
No.
We're not looking at any of these other groups, at West Ham or Freiburg, at Brighton or Marseille, at Real Betis or Rangers, Atalanta or Sporting, Toulouse again, Rennes or Villarreal, Slavia Prague or Roma, Bayer Leverkusen or Quarterback. We're not looking at these teams with any kind of fear. Leverkusen are on an unbelievable run. That would be a fairly tough game if it was now. But who knows where they'll be in 4 months' time. They might fall off a cliff. So we should win this competition. Tonight was the longest game of football ever played. I believe it clocked in at about 43 weeks. But it was kind of a funny game up until it got a bit like, can this just end now?
Yeah,
because
it was just boring.
It was just boring. It felt like we were going to score every time we went up the pitch. And then we didn't really seem to be all that bothered about defending, bar the two centre-backs. Joe was playing as a right winger. Costas was playing as a left winger. It was just sort of the two lads. But before I let you pass over to Karl, a big mention for Caoimhín Kelleher. He had a few things to do tonight, and I thought he did them all well. And we've slated him on this before, after his last performance. And I think he deserves real praise today, because I thought he did well. He did what was asked of him. He made a couple of good saves, and a clean sheet will do him the world of good, because we need him now for the next 4 games, because Ali's going to be out.
I think that's just as important as the other result in the other European game that you mentioned being more important than our own result tonight. Absolutely agree completely. Hats off to Big Queeve. Did the Allison thing of saving a few attempts that were not going to be allowed, and by dint of that kept a clean sheet, whether theoretical or in reality. Made sure there was nothing that went past him. I think that's massive for him and therefore massive for us. And Karl, to bring you in quickly, fair play to Union, a tremendous set of lads, you'd have to say, to eke out that draw tonight, which means that we can have this luxury, which frees us up in so many ways now with the guts of 4 months before we need to worry, well, certainly at least well over the 3 before we need to worry about this competition again, and worry we should, I think, Karl, because the thing that I took away from tonight was quite how much I think it's almost necessary for us to win this thing. I hate to heap pressure upon pressure, but again, before you I think joined us, we were having a chat, myself and Dave and Guy, about how I had an interaction at work with a fella, and I found myself getting a bit annoyed about how many things we've missed out on. League titles by a point on a couple of occasions, Champions League finals, Europa League finals, League Cup finals. This is not good. I don't like this trend. I don't like us being nearly met. Like the Klopp era being defined by, we were a great old side and we did really well to be in and around the top of everything at all the time. I want us to start just clocking in trophies. Maybe this 2.0 era, Karl, could be that for us. And this trophy seems, in a cynical way, eminently winnable.
Yeah, I don't think that any of that is wrong, to be honest with you. And I think it's fine for us to have an expectation, not so much a pressure and a demand of winning a tournament because only one can. Like it's a little bit different what we're saying here to, when we think we're among the best in the world and we think, well, we should go and win the Champions League this year. That's a little bit different to what we're saying here. I don't think it's the same kind of pressure. We are actually the best team in this competition, like by some considerable distance. We're only in it because we were flukily terrible last season. We've spoken about Leverkusen on here, and Dave and I on Scouted as well, and they could be very, very similar to, let's say, Napoli last year, whereby sort of towards March and April they were running out of steam, and their great campaign had done enough to get them over the line domestically and to the latter stages of a competition. But by that final 2 months, it was kind of end of gas, and performances were running down, and they didn't do what they should have done really by performance levels earlier in the campaign and get to the final where their route really opened up for them. So that could happen to Leverkusen. There's no other team in here who should really stop us. Like even just on a broad spectrum, how all other teams are doing in the group stage so far, no team in the Europa League has had as much possession average as Liverpool have. No team has had as many shots a game as Liverpool have. Obviously, we've slipped up once with the defeat to Toulouse, obviously. But even that, I mean, we were terrible, probably our worst performance of the season. And we still almost didn't lose, only because of a really stupid decision by VAR and the collective officials. We are comfortably the best team in this competition. It's not a good competition. We should be expecting that we win it. And I think that's okay. There's a lot to do before we can get to that stage, but I don't think that even at this point it's anything wrong with looking around and saying, yeah, we're the best in this. It's like being in the FA Cup for example, into the quarterfinals, and somehow City and United and Newcastle and Chelsea have all knocked each other out, maybe Arsenal are in there on the other side of the draw, something like that. But basically, you're thinking we're either the best or very nearly the best here. We should be going to the final.
It's fair. I think we need to get over our collective British and Celtic embarrassment at saying that we're good at something. One of the finest moments in history for me was when we started seeing the import of great foreign talent like Zola coming into the Premier League and saying in post-match interviews like Ruud Gullit as well, and saying things like, that went well for you. Yeah. And lads saying, yeah, I think I played quite well. I played pretty well. Because lads never said that before. It was spirit. It was spirit.
You just need to look at Glenn Hoddle. Like Glenn Hoddle had that kind of belief in himself and that confidence, and he would say things like that back in the 80s. Like, I thought I played well today. My passing was crisp, whatever. And he'd just be slandered as like, he's so arrogant, like.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when the foreign lads came in, firstly, they were seen as arrogant, and then the more of them that came in and did it. Because, like, remember, Cantona was seen as arrogant, and Hullet, like you mentioned, and Zola and Bergkamp, and they were all seen as these, oh, God, like you can't be saying that. Jurgen Klinsmann coming in and saying he's a great player. You can't be saying that. We'll be the judge of that. But then the more and more of them that came in, the more accepting people had to become of it, because that's just the truth of it, you know?
Which is exactly what yourself and Karl have said. The truth of it is that we are the best, so therefore, without the ridiculous levels of pressure, we should be going on to prove that in this tournament. I really hope we do. It is a source of annoyance for me on a broad scale. We've been talking amongst ourselves about how we're going to keep this sub 1 hour, so we're going to do an experimental raw here and see if we can stop ourselves talking. I don't know how that's going to work, but we're going to try. Dave, Liverpool tonight went well, I think it was, someone told me it was 9 changes in total, which is quite spectacular, but the team does not look too bereft of talent as a result. Queeveen obviously started. We've both name checked him already. Joe Gomez and Konate Kwanzaa and Konate at centre half, and Gomez and Tsimikas on either side. Gravenberch, Endo and Elliott is absolutely a Europa League midfield, but nonetheless a midfield that should be able to do a job. And when you have Salah, Gakpo and Diaz ahead of them, I mean, it's quite exciting. It's a very solid team, and of course the bench is equally solid with the likes of only Virgil van Dijk and Szoboszlai and Núñez and McAllister and all the rest of our players that you could care to mention. And we did get 5 subs on the pitch tonight as well because of the way the game was going, which is also good. I thought it was a solid and sensible lineup myself. I didn't see too much wrong with it, Dave. I kind of liked most of those selections. I could see where he went, what he was thinking with almost all of them, including Mo Salah as captain, because Mo is like one of those sort of rare semi-unbreakable humans who has only one thing in mind, and it's all the records. And he got a goal closer to 200 tonight. 199 for him justified his selection and his selection as captain. I can't argue too much with the team, Dave, can you?
No, I mean, the only surprise for me was Mo. I thought Harvey would start wide right, and I thought Curtis would start in midfield. But like you said, I mean, Mo has probably just pestered him relentlessly to let him play as much as he has in this competition, because he's obsessed with scoring goals. He's obsessed with his numbers and his records. So I think it's absolutely fair that Mo gets to start and gets to captain the club, which is something we know has been important to Mo. He has wanted to be included in that leadership group for a long, long time. He's wanted to wear the armband. He was rumoured to have been quite put out a few years ago when I think Trent captained us in a cup game when Mo was on the pitch, or Mo was starting, and Mo felt he should have started or he should have been captain, because I think at the time Milner, Henderson, Virgil and Ginny were all out of the team, and Mo had wanted to captain us, but Jurgen had gone with Trent. And Mo clearly cares. Like, he clearly cares about these things. So give him the captaincy, let him play. As you said, he doesn't get injured, and he carries on regardless. And again, tonight, He's gotten himself a goal. I don't know if he's been credited with the assist on Cody Gakpo's goal, but he certainly should be. So that's, 12? Is it 12 goals, 13 goals and 6 assists? I think 13 goals and 6 assists this season. 19 goal contributions in 19 games or 20 games, which is a really, really impressive return for a fella who isn't playing every minute of these games either. Like, he's getting his work in and then he's getting off.
No assist given, by the way.
No assist given?
No, because it deflected off the defender after his...
Oh, for Christ's sake.
That's a nonsense.
That is a nonsense. It's a deliberate action by Mo. It's hard to accept. Anyway, there it is. Karl, there's the short straws to talk about the opposition in terms of being able to muster up too much by way of in-depth chat. I don't expect you to do that. I would like you to talk about the overall approach of the opposition tonight. The commentators that I was listening to were quite high on the Ian Darke, I think it was, and Steve McManaman, quite high on the mindset, application, constant intention towards attacking that they had. And you'd have to say that they did have quite a few opportunities that were decent, not exactly gilt-edged, but decent, and required quite a few good saves from Queeveen, whether they were offside or not. So their intention to play was there. Whether or not that was naive is a different call. What did you make of the opposition tonight, the way they set up, and whether it was in any way successful for them?
The world's got you feeling glazed over. Sprinkle some love all around. Just climb your way up out of that hole, and you'll be the taste of the town. Grab the one thing that everyone's loving, and as it happens, they come by the dozen. Everybody loves a donut. Order a dozen from Dunkin'.
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
No, they lost 4-0, so no, it wasn't successful for them. But do you know what? I don't think that they should care, and I don't think that they did care, to be perfectly honest. They're coming to Anfield. They were already bottom of the group. Why not have a go? You know, they are playing for third place, basically, and they could either sit back and probably get picked off and come away from Anfield having had a fairly miserable night with not having had much of the ball and all the rest of it, or they can go and have a go and play some expansive football, which obviously we've seen evidence of here that they're capable of doing at times. Missing a bit of a cool head sometimes with the final pass or the shot inside the box or anything like that, but we could see some like really good interchanging positions between sort of Zurj and then the front two, Ljubicic and Usor. I thought they were pretty good with quite a lot of their build-up play, one-touch movement and getting between the sort of the full-back and the centre-back quite a lot of times. If they're capable of doing that, why not? You know, they might as well. If you get a goal at Anfield, even if you lose, that's something you will remember all the time for a lot of these players who are, maybe don't progress too far beyond this level. If they do somehow take the lead early on by being offensive-minded, it gives them something to hold on to later on, obviously. I know it's easy for us to say because we want Liverpool to win, and a team like this who doesn't sit back and comes out makes it a lot easier for us to attack ourselves. But I don't mind them coming and playing this way. Like, I think that that's fine. If you know you're very unlikely to win anyway, regardless of what approach you take, and your position in the group is tenuous at best, let's say, have a go. Why not? Football's there to be won, so you might as well go and do so. That's my opinion of the game as a whole. And I think that they gave a decent account of themselves going forward tonight. There were deficiencies defensively, no question, but again, we would expect that when you're playing one of the best teams in Europe.
Yeah, and credit where it's due to their fans. Again, tremendous level of support, constant, loud, in our faces, kind of embarrassed the Anfield crowd on many, many occasions tonight, if not throughout. Not to have a dig out at our crowd, that's completely different. I'm just saying what sounded and what was sounding clearly from the television mics was a very, very boisterous away end, way outperforming the amount of people they had versus the home crowd. And when you think it is under the floodlights at Anfield on a European night, that's quite the achievement, and hats off to them. I thought they reflected their team in having a right go and decent attitude. What we'll do is we'll break down the details of the match, and from there we may get to speak about individuals and whether or not we want to dwell on any of them, because again, it just feels a bit of a weird one. It was a weird game. The relevance of it, I'm not 100% sure whether we should be too stressed about. So allow me, if you would, to just talk about what happened more or less in the first half. You'll forgive me, folks, but this is a weird game. I feel like this is what it warrants. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to run through the first half incidents. I'd ask both Karl and Dave to just sort of bear with me, see if they agree or disagree. And rather than split in two, we'll just talk about the first half and get a take from both of the lads on it. And, incidents are somewhat minimal. In 6 minutes, there was some bright play by us. LASK did well. And then we had their centre forward, Ljubicic, I think, who was free in the middle. But Ibu blocked the cross and went to a corner, and nothing came from that. Another bright attacking cross in 9 minutes. But on 10, we had actually a decent move. Harvey pings the ball into Cody, who took a touch, and his half volley is wildly off target. It was a decent opening, and it gave rise to, I think, a lot of hope in most people, because it looked like we could cut them open. And then within 1 minute, we had cut them open. On 11 minutes, it was Luis Diaz. The end of the move is Luis dinking it wide to Joe Gomez, and Joe Gomez, with a sort of improvised half volley cross, is met by Luis Diaz, who's continued charging in toward goal, and he has this kind of jerky header towards goal. A lot of impetus and power on it. It's lovely, and it's clean, and it's back of the net. On 14, in the middle of the two big incidents of this half, they did open us up, but they did look offside and nothing came of it. It was Usor who was their main attacking threat, who had been at the spear of that attack. On 15 minutes, we're 2-0 up. It's Cody Gakpo this time again. A nice flowing move ended with a gorgeous outside of the foot deliberate pass towards Cody. We're being told that it was a deflected pass, and as the ball comes to Cody, he swept it home with a kind of centre forwards aplomb, which was lovely. That's 2-0 after 15. On 17, a Tsimikas ball in off a flowing move. No one's there. On 18, again, they get in, but they're sprung by our offside. Captain Mo Salah gets in on goal in 20 minutes, leads to a corner. Nothing comes from that. Another moment from them on 26 where they're offside, but they're attacking nonetheless. On 31, Tsimikas drives the ball off the bar with the outside of his foot from just outside the box as he's approaching from the left. It's a good dig. It's just eminently reminiscent of him and Andy Robertson, and why our fullbacks on that side can't seem to score. I think Tsimikas has gone something like 5 years with a goal. I could be wrong. You guys can correct me on that. On 33, Harvey curled a left-footed effort wide of the near post. On 40, Luis Diaz was in, but it's a wild effort by the lad, and it heads over the top corner. On 40, Joe Gomez did a lovely carry out from the back, striding majestically forward. and finds himself within shooting range. He pulls a shot from right to left, just narrowly wide of the post. And then on 41, a really good Harvey Elliott ball over the top. Mo Salah's cross is neither cross nor shot and kind of goes agonizingly between post and potential connection for Cody Gakpo. And the last thing was 42 minutes where Harvey played a ball in to Mo Salah. He cuts back and his shot is the most token of efforts at the keeper. So they were the incidents of note which I diligently took account of, but there was other things which you will have noted. Let's get a take from both of you. Dave, I'll start with you. The first half, anything you think that was worthy of mention, including individuals and their performances?
We should have been 2-0 up before we even scored. We missed two really good chances. One Harvey had on his right foot and he decided not to take it and cut back onto his left into traffic. Cody should have scored after a lovely little pass from Harvey, and it felt like we were just going to open them up routinely, and we did in that first half. We could have scored 5 or 6 in that first half, and I also had the pleasure of the company of Ian Darke and Steve McManaman, and that's probably why the game felt so long. But at 2-0, they were talking about us absolutely trouncing LASK, about how, Liverpool's record win is 11-0 and all this kind of stuff. And then McManaman was saying that they should go to a back 5 with a holding midfielder sat in front. And I was just thinking, you're just a miserable. You're like a urine-soaked wet blanket. You're just a miserable shite. Let them come, have the experience of going toe-to-toe with Liverpool. They're going to lose regardless. Let them at least give their fans, something to enjoy if they could nab a goal or have some fun with how they're playing. I thought all credit to LASK. I know they lost and they were never close to winning, but I did appreciate the fact that they came and had a go, which, it's admirable. It really is admirable that they were willing to come and have a go, not just turn up, park the bus and go home with their tails between the legs after a 2-0 loss. They know they're not getting through to the next round. They've decided to come and have a go and enjoy their trip to Anfield. So fair play to them. McManaman and that other fucking bumbling in the dark fella, the two of them just need to be put away. They're not good at what they do and nobody wants to listen to them. But I thought there was some really good moments. I thought Ibu had a couple of good defensive moments. Jarrell Quansah looked pretty good. Joey Gomez was looking very, very confident and comfortable on the ball, and he was overlapping. I thought Mo was tremendous in the first half. I thought he's the best player on the pitch by a considerable margin. Diaz had some really bright moments, including obviously his goal and his involvement in Cody's goal. You could see how hard the other players were working to get Cody Gakpo chances. Diaz passed up a possible goal to basically let Cody have a shot. Every time Mo got the ball, he seemed to be looking for Cody. Every time Harvey got the ball, he was looking for Cody. Every time Gravenberch got the ball, he was looking for Cody. You can tell that the players were looking to get him involved, build his confidence, because he's had a dreadful season so far. He has been dreadful up until tonight. He got the first goal, and you could see the weight lift off him. You could see the confidence start to grow in him. And from there, I thought he played quite well. I've seen some people say he was man of the match. Don't know that I'd agree with that, but I do think he played quite well tonight. And hopefully that's the start of him getting himself back on track, because we desperately need him, especially now with Jota out.
Carl, what's interesting there is that Dave's high on a couple of performances, and I'd agree with him. And, it feels, I know that's where you were going earlier on with your, they weren't successful because they lost 4-0. And you also understand 100% where I was going with, look, they had a go and the gulf is ridiculous. But I'm also thinking just in terms of what we could possibly gain from this. It does feel a little bit sketchy to be talking about people being tremendous or otherwise, in terms of the performance tonight. You don't want to overpraise, but I was very taken with the calmness of Jarell Quansah once again. I was delighted to see Ibou get some minutes that will help him, I hope, for the love of God, be a continual presence in the team for once. It is lovely to see Kostas Tsimikas get some feeling of being a first team regular and contributing things in some way, shape or form. All of these things, I suppose, Karl, are things that we can take from the first half that are ridiculously intangible. No science man will want to touch them, but you know where I'm going with. They are important nonetheless, right?
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m, Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin De Vries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
100%. Absolutely. Look, you take Cody Gakpo's performance before, I don't even think his first goal. I'm going to say like another 10 minutes after that, something like that. His first 25 minutes I thought was verging on poor, aside from the fact that he bundled one in from 5 yards out. Like the movement was there at times, but the touch wasn't, the turning wasn't. He was sort of taking blind shots at times and that kind of thing. But after about half an hour, we sort of started playing a bit better, I thought. And then in the second half, before the subs were made, we had like about a 10-minute spell there where we were just like scything through them. And I know we're not there, but I'm just talking about Gakpo specifically in that part of the game. You could suddenly see that those parts of his games were there. Like he had one really, really good turn, drove forward into space, evaded one challenge and clattered a shot like an inch away from another goal. That's the kind of thing that he's really capable of, but has been nowhere near doing this season. And it is from this kind of game, just like it would be if he played, I don't know, a League One side or something like that in the FA Cup and you got your chance and he scored a couple of goals. That's where you start to get the form back, where you get your confidence back, where you get your touch back, your rhythm back. You have to come into the team because you're playing well rather than just because there's nobody else left to pick. Everyone's got injured. Otherwise, you're not really going to benefit us in the position that we're in and with the objectives that we're going for. And we saw with Darwin at the start of the season, he was sub and Cody started. Cody was in midfield a little bit, then Jota was up front, and then Cody went up front. And Darwin had to get like a couple of appearances off the bench in the league where he was good, and then a couple in Europe where he had, again, really good impact. And then he won himself a place in the team through that. That's what Darwin's already done. Cody's now got to go through that as well. And we need multiple players in different positions to do this. Obviously, we have some certain starters who are just in the team all the time, and that's fine because most of the time they're really, really good. But there are others, some of them are young, some of them are just inconsistent at times, where you need them to dovetail where their form is and when they're confident and when they are having that impact in the final third. And, you know, if Cody now gets on a run of games where he's played LASK, who fine, like we keep saying, are not amazing, but then goes on and plays Fulham, Sheffield United and Crystal Palace and Union Saint-Gilloise, and none of them are amazing either. Like Palace are probably the best of them and they are good, let's say, but not incredible. Can he get like another couple of goals in that run? Can he have another 2-3 decent performances in that run? If so, then by the time you're heading into Man United, West Ham, Arsenal, maybe he's a really important player again for that run of games, or for a spell across Christmas and the New Year, whenever it is. It will always start against probably lesser sides because you get a bit more space or time on the ball, or you're just better than them. There's nothing wrong with him having done it today if later on it leads to him doing it against much, much better sides.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And he's not the only one, is he, Karl, in that boat? I mean, I spoke earlier on about our left back. I spoke about Jarrell Quansah, and we got to see fellas coming on like Curtis Jones, who I think probably the three of us would have in our first three in Liverpool's midfield. So there's lots and lots of upsides. I just want to spin it around and ask you one kind of thorny issue question that was, it wouldn't go away from my mind, primarily because most of the touches and contributions were sketchy as all hell. And that was, yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
talk to me about Gravenberch tonight, because that's his stage, right? You're at home. It's a lesser opposition. You're a man of immense talent. Go stamp yourself in this game. It didn't really happen for the kid.
It didn't. I don't necessarily think it's down to a single thing. Like, it could just be an off night, but it was like right from kickoff the touch was loose and the passes were just going anywhere he didn't want them to go. And like, maybe it's just that night, you know. Most of his Europa League games have been pretty good, pretty solid performances. He's had good attacking input, but nothing came off today. But what I will say, which is quite important, one is that he didn't hide away from anything. Like, he was on the pitch for 85 minutes, something like that. And he went all the time to be available to receive the pass, all the time trying to get onto the front foot and make the forward pass between the lines. A couple of times trying to, you know, either make the dribble or make sure that he was available for a return pass, but nothing came off technically. But when it doesn't come off technically, I'm less bothered by that than if you're not in the right position or you're not making the right attempts for the combinations that we know are there. I think everything he did tonight was right, other than the execution, which obviously is a problem. Like, that's a poor performance from him overall, but it was bad in the right ways, if you get what I'm trying to say. Like, similar to if we say Darwin plays really well but misses 18 chances from inside the penalty box. Yeah. It's annoying and it's not great for that game, but I don't think it's a problem, to be honest. You know, I think Gravenberch is adapting really well to how we want him to play, really, really fine. And the odd bad performance from a technical perspective, one, you got to accept it. It's 21 years old and he's still not getting ridiculously regular minutes. Obviously, another international break where he wouldn't have had game time, and then he was only sub against Man City. And these things will just sort of mount up at times. So maybe you just to kind of overlook this one and wait for him to obviously get the next chance down the line.
It's a good bridge for us to take across to talk to you, Dave. Before I get into the second half, I would like to get your take on Gravenberch as well tonight, because the reason I want to focus on him is you will have noticed, and you will have actually yourself personally been front and centre in multiple conversations about some of the players who tend to divide the Liverpool fan base, and let's completely roundly ignore the boring history around one or two of those. But Gravenberch has the potential to be one of those, as is Curtis Jones. And I'm. You know, it's a worry when you see it happen, because there's a trend and it takes hold, and once it takes hold, that's it. And as you've often pointed out, as Karl has as well, if you get labelled in the kind of setting the standards bracket, it doesn't really matter. You're kind of bomb-proof. If you're labelled in this other one where you're kind of apparently flitty and flighty and who knows what you're going to give from game to game, then you are a different kind of character. I know you're not exactly high, and you weren't high on the signing of Gravenberch, but nonetheless, a showing like tonight, which is incredibly frustrating for him, and I think Karl pointed out really well, it wasn't necessarily that he was tactically out of order or actually even technically incompetent. It was like little touches off touches, like there was like a little nick before he got there, or his pass through got a nick on it. It was just frustrating bullshit, and anyone who's ever played the game can completely understand the night that Gravenberch had. And I think we should probably cut him some slack, but am I being too soft? What's your take on him tonight?
No, I think he was fine. Like, he had a couple of passes that he overhit, like a couple that he fired in at the feet of one of Gakpo and one of Diaz in quick succession that were just a little bit too hard hit and didn't give the receiver a real opportunity to try and control it, and the pass got nicked and away they went. And things like that happen. Like Karl mentioned, there was a couple of heavy touches. A couple of times maybe he picked the wrong option or things like that. And like, I think he was getting a little bit frustrated as well, because he took up a couple of really good positions and he got ignored. And when the ball didn't come to him, he kind of, you could see he was visibly annoyed once or twice by these balls not being laid into him when he had taken up a really clever position. Look, there's no doubting the kid's talent. There's no doubting that at all. It's his ability to turn that talent into performances. Like, we sat for years and watched Paul Pogba at United turn in mediocre performance after mediocre performance after mediocre performance. There's not one person that's ever watched or played the game that wouldn't say Paul Pogba is an outrageously talented individual. Nobody ever doubted Paul Pogba's talent. They doubted whether he could actually perform at a level that was going to be consistently good enough for an elite level club. That's the doubt over Gravenberch, and like, he hasn't done anything as yet to suggest that doubt is unwarranted or unfounded. But he's been fine. Like, he came in, he had a couple of good games in the Europa League, had a couple of meh performances in the Premier League. He hasn't been great the last couple of months, but you can tell that he's starting to adapt more to what's been asked of him. He had a really impactful performance against City, and he had a performance tonight that was fine. Like, it was 6 out of 10. There was nothing wrong with it. He didn't do anything wrong. So there's nothing to criticize him too heavily, other than, like you said, this is his opportunity. Like, this is the competition he's being given. You want to see him take these games by the scruff of the neck. And yet it's the other midfielder tonight, Harvey Elliott, who's far more driven to grab hold of a game and try and stamp his input on the game. And I thought he had a slightly better game. Again, I don't think he was brilliant, but I thought he had a slightly better game than Gravenberch. And it's grand. Like, I mean, I think with Ryan, there's going to be games where everything will click for him and he's going to look absolutely incredible. And there's going to be games where nothing works for him. And I think that will be the case throughout his career, that he will be the type that every so often he's going to throw in an absolute shambles. Tonight wasn't that. Now, if you went on Twitter right now, it is the most schizophrenic thing I've ever seen. There are people claiming he was, and I quote, outstanding. And there are people saying he had an absolute stinker in the very next comment.
All right, both of them are mental.
Both of them are completely mental. He was just fine. You don't need to be really edgy by having some sort of take. But the same thing then is true of Curtis Jones. Curtis came on tonight and he was fine. He was grand. He was 6 out of 10. But then you've got absolute lunatics tweeting out, "I'll never understand why so many Liverpool fans rate Curtis Jones so highly. He does absolutely nothing for me. Never seen a top-tier player take so many touches and do nothing with the ball." Like, what the fuck are you watching? Like, and the person that tweeted that last thing about Curtis is just looking for some interactions, but also refuses to ever admit that Jurgen has ever done anything wrong. But it's Jurgen who rates Curtis more than any of the fans. Jurgen loves Curtis. And when I see people say, "Oh, the only reason Curtis Jones is still at Liverpool is because he's a Scouser," Jurgen Klopp is German. He doesn't give a fuck where Curtis Jones is from. Like, if he was just going to keep him because he was Scouse, he'd have Adam Morgan back at the club, John Flanagan back at the club. You know, it's not where he's from, it's what he can do. It's his suitability to the team. And right now, at this moment in time, on the 30th of November, 2023, Curtis Jones is a significantly better footballer than Ryan Gravenberch. Is Ryan Gravenberch a more talented player? Yes. Yes, he is. He's a more talented player. But talent and performance are different things. And Curtis Jones does more for our team, more for our system, more to elevate the performances of others by being a support player, a complementary player, not someone that's going to take a ton out of the ball. Curtis, and defensively, it's not even close. Like, people think there's an enormous gap between them on the ball. There really isn't. Gravenberch is better on the ball than Curtis. That's fair enough. He is. But the gap off the ball is absolutely astronomical. Curtis is miles better defensively than Ryan Gravenberch is, and that's why he is in the team, should stay in the team, and I'm fairly confident will stay in the team, because he's better off the ball and he's better defensively. And when you've got Dominic and you've got Alexis and you've got Trent and you've got Mo, you don't need yet another piano player. You need someone that'll carry that piano for you, as Dan Kennett likes to say. And Curtis carries a damn good piano.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, fair. Look, second half goes like this. For those of us who are interested in the match details, early on, 46 minutes, lovely flowing move. Cody effort at the end of it, deflected over, led to a corner. That corner ended with a Harvey Elliott bearing in on goal from the right hand side with his left foot. His shot is on target. It's a cross shot, but it's saved from a narrow angle. Endo, who might be worth a mention from one or two, a one or the other if the lads had a volley well off target in 48 minutes. There is a penalty given at 49, however, where Cody is taken out by the keeper for all sorts of galaxy brain takes on this. Is amazing, but it is nonetheless a penalty. And on 50, Mo steps up and strikes that penalty beautifully home to the keeper's left, just inside the post. It's absolutely immaculate, like the perfect penalty. That kind of mid-height, or low to mid-height, but also right away and out, away from the outstretched arm of any keeper, regardless of whether you're Pickford or a lad with normal arms. That's his 199th goal for the club, worth a note. On 53, Cody does this sort of lurch forward run. It's very unaesthetic, but he does manage to straighten himself up and stop being Jimmy Milner on the run and make an attempt at a shot from distance, and it's off the post. It's a good dig. There's a great move by them, to be fair. On 54, Ljubicic guys the effort at the end. 55, we take on Trent, Curtis, Darwin for Luis and Mo and Ibu. We're not fucking about here. That's a weird substitution. Like, it's a weird flex on our substitutions, to be fair. On 57 minutes is a good move. Harvey's effort is saved at the end of it at the keeper's feet. 58, Darwin's effort is saved. 59, Havel, Mustafa, Renner, Flecker are all brought on for them. On 62 minutes, Cody and Trent have successive crosses. Both of them are quite dangerous looking. Queeving pulls off a good save in 65 against the forward, who's in acres of space. I think the forward was Mustafa, who had just come on, one of the substitutes I just mentioned. On 67, Simicast has a cross pawed away by the keeper. To be fair and extra critical on Simicast, he should have done much better with the cross and the delivery, and not let the keeper have any chance of getting to it. Another great save by Queeving on 77 versus Usor again. A token Cody Gakpo hit on 79 minutes. 81, we bring on Bradley and Chambers, and that's nice because we get the two lads into full back at that point. Simicast goes off, Gravenberg goes off, Trent moves into the middle. A great Queeving stop from a flick on from a free kick. They were probably offside at that stage, if we're being honest, but they're still having a go, as Carl and David both mentioned, and we wrap it up on 91 with the fourth goal. It is Cody Gakpo. Trent carries the ball deep from his own half, marches in towards that right centre area, plays the ball right to left into Cody's path. It's a good touch by Cody. He takes it inside, he cuts back, the anti-Mo in terms of exactly the opposite angle, and finishes it profoundly, deftly and hard into the roof of the net for 4-0. Now, I want to leave it to both of you to give your wrap-up thoughts rather than either of us or both of us or the three of us talking about the second half, because honestly, who gives a damn? It's all we needed to do is win this game. It's a functional thing. So next man up is Karl. So why don't I go with you, Karl, for your wrap-up thoughts? Folding in the second half, if there's anyone you think you need to mention specifically, please do. Anything you think you need to mention specifically, please do. And Dave, will finish with you in a minute.
I think probably just to mention, like, the subs are obviously a very, very clear, pre-planned. This is an intense midweek training session to keep people not overloaded with minutes, but certainly topped up with game time level sort of involvement, let's say. Salah less than an hour, Diaz less than an hour. You're protecting your wide players in the forward line a little bit because we're one man down with Jota out. Obviously Jones and Nunez then, and Trent's getting reasonable game time, but again, not overexerting it. So it's not too bad in terms of the load, I suppose. Nice to not see McAllister and Szoboszlai come on, though. I think that was reasonably important. And one who didn't come on, but again, good to see back, is Cade Gordon, who was, as we probably remember, very, very explosive when he was getting his earliest opportunities in the first team. The only other one I was going to mention Elliot, but Dave's talked about him, so I'll kind of ignore that. I think Wataru Endo warrants a mention today. I thought he was much, much better. Again, if we caveat by the fact that they weren't electric, but they did have quite a lot of ball playing options around that central area, and I thought he was pretty good in terms of holding his position, winning the ball back. He was pretty aggressive. He was pretty good positionally, and then able to really spring forward and be proactive with his passing as well. So I think it was nice and also important for all the usual squad rotation reasons to see him having quite a good game, really. Nice to see him on the front foot. And Jarrell Quansah that you mentioned as well, I think really, really good. Several really good recovery runs. His positional work was pretty good all around. I'm not going to offer too much in the way of wrap-up thoughts, because largely your second half thoughts is how I think about this group stage as a whole. Who cares? It's just there to get through and get through top. So the only thing that I will mention, obviously the 0-0 Union Toulouse draw means that we are top. That's important for two reasons, just to recap in case people either don't remember or didn't know to begin with. Longer term, you miss out those two matches, a playoff against the third place team from the Champions League spot. We skip that round and we go straight into the last 16. But in the nearer term, we just mentioned those runner games that we've got coming up against, let's say, winnable opponents. But after the final group stage game, 3 days after that, we play Man United. So again, really important for squad rotation, squad management purposes, that we can now play whoever the hell we want and give an entire week's break if we want before hosting United and then beat them 9-0. That would be lovely. In terms of match stuff, I usually give like a few little stats and all that kind of thing because it's sometimes funny and sometimes fun and sometimes a little bit insightful as well. So the insightful one, I think, is our home form. 10 games this season in all competitions, 10 wins. We've conceded 1 goal in the last 6 matches at home, which is really, really good. We've not conceded more than 1 at home in any game this season, and we have won every single home match by at least 2 goals this season, which, again, is pretty phenomenal. We've obviously not had the biggest tests of all, but the fact that we do play those bigger tests at home in the second half of the season and we're where we are in all the competitions is, again, a really good thing because obviously we've had some big tests away from home. Stats-wise, I sometimes just have to laugh because we've spoken about Cody Gakpo, obviously had a big impact tonight. His stats rating on who scored for tonight's performance is 9.95, damn near perfection, apparently, as a result of obviously 2 goals, winning a penalty and hitting the bar. But honestly, for about half an hour there, as I said, he was not great, I didn't think. So that compared to a Jarell Quansah 6.7 is quite telling that its numbers don't tell us everything. We can see that there are very, very good performances throughout the team today.
But we can also tell that these stats models are all absolute horseshit and value the attacking side of the game far too much and the defensive side far too little. So,
yeah, the metrics are obviously massively up for debate. And before that, you go, Karl, your next few days before we're back again for Fulham. What's the crack? What have you got?
So we actually recorded the Fulham Scouted podcast this morning, gambling a bit on the team and therefore going based on what we thought it would be for the weekend. So we've done that. That will be out, I assume, tomorrow. Guy can confirm that, though. I will probably have something in the lead up to this weekend, both on Liverpool and on Barcelona Atletico in La Liga. And then I will be at Sheffield United next midweek and at Crystal Palace next weekend as well.
Bloody tremendous. Look forward to all your contributions, as I always do. If you have any sense, you'll be paying attention to what Mr. Matchett is doing on a regular basis. Dave, I'm really proud of the fact that we said we keep it to 45. It's still 51. So if you don't mind me saying, all of the pressure now is on you, my friend. We have the wrap up here. Your thoughts. Where are we going? What do you think? Second half, overall, what are we saying?
I just was looking forward to the second half ending, to be honest, because it got to 75 minutes and then 4 weeks later it was still 75 minutes. It just seemed to take an inordinate amount of time for that game to finish. But it was good for the youngsters to get on. I would have really liked to have seen Cade Gordon get a bit of a run tonight. Just, you know, he's been out for so long. It would have been really nice. But being on the bench is a big step back for him. It was great to see Conor Bradley get a game after his battles with injury as well. The second half was a bit of a damp squib in some ways, where, you know, it felt like we were trying to craft the perfect goal and just kind of kept falling over our own feet at the last kind of hurdle. But their keeper made a couple of good saves. Ours made a couple of good saves. We got the 2 goals. The penalty, like you said, is picture perfect. The Gakpo goal, as soon as it gets to him, you know what he's doing. There's not any hope in the world he's passing that ball. He was obsessed with getting himself a second goal, and rightly so. Like, he might as well fill your boots while you can. Like, as I said, it was great that they came and had a go. They made the game at least a bit of fun. They can still qualify into the Conference League if they win their last game at home to Toulouse. So, you know, they'll go and they'll have a go in that one and maybe get themselves into the Conference League. And if they do that, Toulouse can afford to lose that, in theory. Unless Toulouse can afford to lose that, as long as Union lose to us or whatever the situation would be. But it doesn't really matter to us. We're through. No senior players should travel. Just on Karl going to games, just to warn people now, he's going to Sheffield United and Palace. The last 2 games he's been at have both ended 1-1. So you can be absolutely assured that at least one of those games, if not both of them, is ending 1-1, because he is a jinx. He is officially a jinx. Myself and Guy have detailed the process for years now So don't get too excited about us winning all those games. I maintain that we should win this competition. I think we should win the EFL Cup as well. When I look at who's left in that, I don't really see anybody that we should be overly concerned with. Everton, Fulham, Port Vale, Middlesbrough, Chelsea, Newcastle, Liverpool and West Ham. I mean, if we beat West Ham at home, you'd want to draw the winner of Chelsea, Newcastle over 2 legs. We'll beat them over 2 legs. And then you're getting one of Everton, Fulham, Port Vale or Borough in the final. We should win that competition as well. If we win both of those cups, that would be a great season. We'll get ourselves a nice top 4 finish as well. I think second, maybe third, but I think second. But it's not been braggadocious to say we should win this tournament, because if we were in the Champions League, realistically, have a look at who's in that competition, how they're playing this year. There's one team that I think beat us over 2 legs, is Manchester City. All the rest of them, I think we beat over 2 legs. So we're that level and we're playing in this competition. We should go and win it. As for me, 2-footed every day, Daily Red every day. There was 3 scouted this week. There'll be another couple next week. The Transfer Committee pod came out last night. I'm sure there'll be something else. If you haven't listened to the 10-year anniversary pod I did with Trev a week ago, 2 weeks ago now, please do go and give that a listen. And aside from that, enjoy the rest of your night, what is left of it.
Yeah, and we've done our best to leave you with more than the usual of what is left of it, because we decided to treat this match and this result and this game with the healthy respect / disrespect it deserves. We're next up and we're out of this group, and it's wonderful. And you've got a pair of contributors there who are going to give you lots of good things to listen to. I'm going to try and do the same. We're going to get out of here with ourselves slightly under the hour, which is really weird for us at Raw, but we'll embrace it and we'll accept it. And that was Dave Hendrick and Karl Matchett and Guy Drinkle is producing. I'm Trev Downey. That was Raw. We'll see you soon.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.